Good morning, good morning, good morning. It's me, Kenny Bulgar, your host of the party, and today is Tuesday, October 12th, and here is your morning market commentary. What do we need to know? Things we need to know. Strong oil suddenly giving investors pause, so yesterday's stocks retreated as oil pierced $81 a barrel. The bond market was closed yesterday, right? It was a holiday. So let's see what the bond guys have to say today about future yields. Stocks are waffling around this morning. Earnings begin in less than 24 hours. October turbulence is alive and well, so stay tuned. And what do we have for dinner tonight? We're going to have the aqua cotta soup. It is delicious, simple to make, and it is a staple peasant food in the northern part of Italy. Okay, look, oil rallied again yesterday, trading up through $80 a barrel. And while stronger oil has been a non-event for investors for now, $80 might be a little bit of a different story. Because as it pierced that level yesterday, investors and algos began to wonder when this was going to stop. Would oil stop? Would OPEC finally recognize that global demand was alive and well and that the world needs more oil? Look, it's been the shortage of natural gas across Europe, right? It's causing this panic buying in oil. By now you've seen what natural gas prices have done in Europe, right? If you haven't, they have skyrocketed. As supply is constrained, thank you, Russia. This as the winter approaches, and that is sending shivers through the spines of the European bloc and is helping to drive demand for oil even higher. Add in the recovering U.S. economy and the global economy, and demand for oil goes up even more. All while Joey wonders what to do, leaving OPEC Plus in control of oil prices. So as prices pierced $80 a barrel, stocks began to wobble yesterday, right? Struggling to go higher as investors wondered, what does it really mean? What's it mean for inflation? What's it mean for the economy? And what does it mean possibly for the next Fed move? Could Jay Powell think that now is the time to start tapering, taking away the punch bowl, just as now the global energy demand issue is heating up, causing all kinds of economic concerns around the globe? Is this suddenly the right time to pull support when we had so many other opportunities? But even more than that, it's a concern that rapidly rising oil prices is now causing commodity prices to spike yet again, and that's only adding fuel to the inflation story, as if it needed more fuel. And that means investors are beginning to price in much more hawkish Fed, which then means we could see a much more hawkish European Central Bank, Bank of England, Bank of Japan, etc. And that means that interest rates would rise much sooner than expected, and that means stock prices around the world will have to get repriced. It's just math. And that said, some investors hit the sell button. And the algos certainly joined in as well, right? Buyers sensing the building concern pulled back and withdrew their inline bids, deciding to no longer pay up for stocks when sellers were willing to let them go at lower prices. Not a problem. The VIX rose by 6.5%, not only helped put more pressure on stocks as well, suggesting that October turbulence is not over yet. Right? As I have been saying this now for weeks, it is still not over. Now we're in the middle of October and earnings are just going to start in 24 hours. As the closing bell rang yesterday, the Dow fell 250 points, the S&P was down 30, the Nasdaq lost nearly 100, and the Russell lost 12. The transports gained back 52 points, leaving all of the indexes on their lows of the day. And that usually means another flush lower the next day, which is today, to see where the buyers might be hiding. So will we get that flush today or not? It's interesting, right? U.S. futures, which had been churning all night. They were lower overnight, then they struggled figure out which way to go. At 7 a.m. this morning, they were, at 6 o'clock this morning, they turned higher. Now at 7 o'clock, they're mixed again as they're trying to maintain stability. This is all global markets are all lower, right? Oil continues to push higher this morning. It's up another 25 basis points to $80.70 a barrel. Dow futures are now down 14 points. S&Ps are plus 1. The Nasdaq's up 31. The Russell's down 1. Asian markets were all down over 1%. Chinese developer Evergrande missing yet another bond payment plan, and that's just causing angst to an already kind of anxious environment. European markets are also all off about 0.5% as the day dawned. Yesterday here in the United States was a bank holiday, right? The bond markets were closed, so there was no guidance coming from there. This morning, though, 10-year yields were up. And that should not be a surprise to anybody, right? Yields this morning went as high as 1.63%, but have since retreated, now yielding about 1.6%. But the momentum is there, and so is the concern that yields may spike in the weeks ahead. And spiking yields is going to cause stocks to retreat. Recall that when yields tested 1.77% in fairly swift order, it took about 5 weeks back in February, March, stocks came under pressure because of the pace at which yields rose. Not because they rose, but because of the pace at which they rose. Just to put it in perspective, yields rose 57%, going from 1.16 to 1.77 during that 5-week time frame. The S&P lost 6%, the NASDAQ fell 12.5%, individual names got even bigger losses. So the question is, will that story be the same again? What happens if yields suddenly spike to 2%, which is very possible? Economic data today includes the JOLTS report, right, which is job openings, labor turnover survey, expected to show an increase in job openings and turnover of 10.95 million jobs, up from 10.93 million jobs, right? Tomorrow brings you CPI, expected plus 0.3%, ex-food and energy up 4% year over year. FOMC minutes from last month's meeting is also coming out. We're going to get more insight and maybe some more clarity. Later in the week, we're going to get the PPI report, expected to show month-over-month increases of plus 0.6%, and year-over-year of plus 8.7%, right? That's a high number. All estimates are up over last month, and that's going to help to keep the inflation story alive. A story that is no longer about transitory inflation. That's a whole nother conversation we could have. Bitcoin this morning is trading at 57,000 and Ethereum is trading at 3450. This, as JP Morgan's Jamie Dimon tells us that he thinks Bitcoin is worthless. But let's be clear, that is his opinion, not the bank's. And while he will give clients access to be able to own it, JP Morgan has no interest in custodying it. And that only seems to be giving the Bitcoin more legitimacy because another old guy says it's worthless. The S&P ended the day at 43.61 after trading as high as 44.15, but well below the trend line of 44.37. Everybody's back in the pool today, right? There's no holiday anywhere. And if there is, it's obviously not that important. The S&P remains well within trend line, supported 43.60, resistance at 44.37. Earnings tomorrow will start, and that will set the tone on what to expect. Although banks won't have logistics or supply chain issues. So be careful how you assume the season will go because banks are expected to do well. You saw FedEx last week, right? The stock was already in a downtrend, and after their report, investors punished it even more, sending it down another 13% since last week, right? At some point, though, FedEx is going to be a screaming buy. It's down 31% off the May highs. Capiche? Now, look. I do not expect the recent volatility to subside anytime soon, and I've been saying that. I expect more turbulence in the weeks ahead. Earnings are going to start tomorrow. The devil's going to be in the details. Future guidance, input prices, rising dollar, logistics issues, supply chain issues, and how future Fed policy may help or harm any of these projections. So stay close to your desk. It's going to be very interesting to hear the tone down guidance, right? Remember, you can text the word investor 21,000 on your cell phone to get my digital business card. Feel free to download it. It goes right into your contact list. You can email, text me, even call me. I'm always happy to engage and talk about the markets, planning, thoughts, concerns, and all that stuff. And you know you can follow me on Twitter or TikTok at Kenny Polcari. You can get me on Instagram at KennyP1961. So what's on the menu tonight for dinner? It's called acqua cotta. It's a soup, right? But it's a... I had this when I went to Italy 5 or 6 years ago. It is so delicious. It is a classic soup from the Tuscan region, right? Tuscan Maremma. The dish is generally referred to as peasant food and was served as a one-course meal, was eaten in the field by shepherds and stockmen. Peasant food, really. You're not going to get this necessarily in any fancy Italian restaurant. As is the case with any regional dish, there are many versions as there are cooks. Understand you can add as many or as varied a list of vegetables and beans as you like. But in this case, it was once again about simplicity. It was about this dish that I actually made at this cooking school when we went, right? So the Tuscan Maremma is in the area in Italy bordering the Tyrrhenian Sea, southwestern parts of Tuscany, and the northern part of Lazio. This area was traditionally inhabited by cattle breeders and was an area in Italy known for the many marshes. During the fascist regime from 1922 to 1943, the area was drained of its water and repopulated by Italians from other regions. It is today one of the best tourist destinations in all of Italy. So what do you need for this? You need olive oil, you need carrots, celery, onions, you need ripe tomatoes, which you're going to slice up. You need water, salt, pepper, some sage. You're going to need eggs and fresh grated Parmigiano cheese or Pecorino Toscano, which is different from Pecorino Romano, right? It's a little bit more sharper, it's a bit more pungent. You need chichi beans, and then of course you need toasted Italian bread. So you're going to start by heating up the olive oil in a heavy bottom pan. You're going to add in the onions, you're going to saute those until they're translucent, then you're going to add in the carrots and celery. You're going to cover and cook those on low heat until the carrots and celery soften, right? Then you want to take the tomatoes which you've sliced up, throw the tomatoes in there, really ripe tomatoes, along with the can of chichi beans with the juice and all. You're going to simmer that for about 20 minutes. Then you're going to add enough water just to cover everything that's in the pan. Mix it up, turn the heat up, bring it to a boil, then turn it down to simmer. You want to season it with salt and pepper, add some sage, and allow it to simmer for about 20 minutes. 10 minutes before you are serving it, you are to take the eggs for as many guests as you have and crack the eggs into the soup, keeping them whole. You want the yolk to be whole. You want it to cook in the soup till they become hard boiled, right? Now you want to place a toasted piece of Italian bread on the bottom of a bowl. Sprinkle it with a little bit of Parmigiano cheese or the Toscano Romano cheese. You want to spoon the soup in, and then with a ladle, with a slotted spoon, you want to take out one egg and put that right in the soup, right on top of the bread. You want to do that for each person you have, and so that everybody gets the soup and the egg with the bread. And that's the point, right? And for the wine, you want to try something from the region, right? The Morellino di Scansano is a good one. It's a local name of a Sangiovese grape. And because it can be on the table within 8 months of light, it is crisp, it's light, it's a fresh wine, and it goes really well with this dish, right? This dish is not heavy, but it's not meant to be heavy, right? Yet it's simple to make and it's very good. And like I said, you could add other veggies in there if you want. You could put peas in there. You could put chopped up asparagus if you want. You know, I'd use the top end of the asparagus, the flour, and then a little bit down the stalk. I'd cut the white off at the end. In any event, try it. It's very good. Doesn't take long to make, and it is delicious. It's a quick meal, but it's always delicious. And like I said, it's peasant food. You're not going to find it in an Italian restaurant. Maybe I should open a restaurant and I should serve that because it's very good. In any event, listen, the day's about to get started. The sun is up. It poured here last night, but the sun is up now and it's not raining, so I look forward to another beautiful day in South Florida. Until tomorrow, take good care.